This is the thing. Who you choose to hang around with, who you choose to have in your posse, is exactly who you become. Choose your posse wisely. I'm here to tell you that putting yourself first is not selfish, it's revolutionary. Welcome to the Ayurvedic Woman podcast, empowering women to light their lives on fire through Ayurveda, yoga, spirituality, and fitness. I'm going to say this one last time. Stop apologizing. Women do this all the time. They apologize for everything. What are you feeling sorry about? Stop. If you do not put yourself first, nothing else happens. Stop putting everybody in front of you and put yourself first so that those people that you need to care for and take care of can be cared for because you have put yourself as the priority. Jai Bhagwan, Women Warriors, and welcome to the Ayurvedic Woman podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Satyavani, and my fabulous co-host,
Prajna Madhavi.
And today, our topic is going to discuss the concept of freedom and how to cultivate freedom. And I think, we are at the 14th of July, and so I will completely admit that I was on vacation and visiting the parents in San Diego. Love the weather in San Diego. So we did not record a podcast last week. Prajna kind of took the reins with the Ayurvedic Woman program and some other stuff so that I can go visit the parents. So we apologize that we did not have a weekly podcast last week, but we figured that we would talk about this idea of freedom today in light of the 4th of July and all of that kind of stuff. But before we get started, the wellness check-in.
Yes.
I got to hear it. I got to hear it. I want you to check in first.
So I've been, for years, I've been dealing with a knee issue. Yep. And so I finally got another x-ray on the knee, and not surprised by anything that I saw in the x-ray, but really just kind of got the x-ray so that I could go get some physical therapy for a cheaper price.
Because you gotta love how our medical system is.
Yeah, because I was like, surgery's not an option. Really don't ever want it to be an option. No. Just for me personally, no ill will to anyone who ever thinks that is good for them. That's great. But for me, I want to do everything possible before I even have to think that direction. So physical therapy, have been going to that for, this has been my 4th session now.
Okay.
And
it's been 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
4 weeks.
Wow.
And have just learned a lot about my body and essentially I think a lot of people in this country's body because we sit a lot and we or are doing repetitive motions a lot. And so I have very weak glutes. My glutes have turned off.
They flip the switch off.
Yes.
We are not activating.
We are no longer activating. One of the, the gluteus maximus evidently is, because that's the one you mainly sit on, but the others are we're checking out.
They're on vacation.
This guy's got this, so we're just going to check out. So really learning how to activate those parts of my body, and it's been really challenging, yet really good at the same time, because it's stuff I need to know about my body and want to learn about my body.
I think it's actually really cool. Doing experiments on ourselves is so great, because then you can actually, teach from that experience if you choose to do that, but also you do learn so many different, you're like, oh, that's why A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Cool. I'm actually excited for you.
Yeah. Glutes, hip flexors, super tight.
Oh, the hip flexor.
Kind of non-existent there too, and calf muscles.
Yeah.
It was humbling, because I think of myself as a person who, works out and
you're strong,
does stuff, and to find those types of weaknesses in my body.
Works out and does stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
That is true.
Do single leg calf raise. And I'm like, sure, that sounds terrible. And like, I could only get 4 done before I was just like, can I be done? She's like, okay, so we have some work to do. And I'm like, yeah, we do. So it's all the exercises I've really hated to ever do. And that's why.
And now you're doing them.
My body doesn't like to do them.
Yep.
And so they've checked out and said, we're not doing those anymore. So
we're in retirement. Thank you very much.
yeah. So I was, joking with the fabulous people at the physical therapy, and I was like, I'm now that person in the weight room with all this equipment around in the corner, doing my little weird PT exercises. But I'm getting a great workout because I'm sweating, and it's really, I think, harder than a lot of the other stuff. So
it really is hard. And also the mobility part.
Yes.
So I'm going to preface all of this by saying that Prajna sends me these Instagram videos of people doing all of this functional training stuff, which we both know we have to do. I mean, like our Krav Maga instructor has been saying, you got to do this, you got to do this. And these videos are insane.
They make it look really easy.
Oh, I'm just like, oh yeah. Well, like while I'm laying in bed watching the video, I'm like, oh, I could easily do that. Yeah. And then yesterday we're at the gym working out, and I don't even know, like this contraption that you had. Yeah. You're like, hold on to these.
A single leg Cossack squat.
Yeah.
With a band assist.
Yeah.
Simple.
No. I got down, cannot get up.
Yeah.
Cannot get up. So I also want to give a shout out to our lovely Gyanavati, because she's all about the functional training, as well as the lovely Bonnie O'Shea.
Yes.
The two of them will be coupling up and heading our mobility and functional training piece this coming fall. So you've got to be part of that as well.
Yeah, and if you think mobility, that doesn't really sound like a workout. Yeah, it's...
Oh my goodness.
It's a workout.
Oh my goodness. But some of those videos that you send with like them doing mobility and then also holding like kettlebells, I'm like, I can't even breathe. Yeah. Like, how would I hold a kettlebell?
Yeah.
Doing that. So, yeah.
But yeah, if I can look like those people in those videos, it'd be nice too. I'm like, dang, okay. If that's,
it is possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
That's how you get there.
It just requires work. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff.
How about you?
Things are good. I feel very strong. Right now I'm in that, I'm going to call it the CrossFit stage. A lot of that kind of functional and power movement stuff that August, my trainer, has me doing. And it is also very humbling, because we were talking about this yesterday. Lifting weights I've really enjoyed a lot, like since we've started to do that over the past several years. And I like feeling strong, and I actually really like lifting heavy weights. And for women, especially, lifting heavy weights is super important, especially as you start to get older.
Yep.
Because
bone density. There
we are. And it's also excellent for hormone balance and just overall just fantastic. And when I was in San Diego, I was visiting my parents, and they're in their mid-70s right now. And so that is becoming an issue, mobility, bone density, et cetera. So I feel like I'm getting a jump start on those things now. And at the same time, I'm excited about the functional stuff that you're starting to bring in, that you're also teaching me and sending me these horrible videos of.
Let's try this.
It's just like, I get like 6 of them. I'm like, wait. I can't even do the first one. Never mind. But what I have learned from that is that just like years and years of practicing yoga asana, even with weightlifting, your movements are in certain planes. And so getting more of those different planes and that different kind of mobility is really something that's really intriguing. And I think that is going to be the ticket for preventing, for me, and I know it is for you, injury in the future, et cetera. I just don't want to get injured while doing it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be phases of depth of learning that mobility. And then there's all these other things that go, with it. This morning, I rode my bike down to Ann Morrison Park, and they have that outdoor little gym. And I was like, I just feel like being outside this morning. And while I was riding, I passed by the lovely Jamie Drake, and she always has the best socks. Like she and I, we kind of connect on the sock thing because we both really like socks. And I was like, I love your socks. And then, of course, I noticed her shoes, and we got into this whole discussion about zero drop shoes, which, yes, Gyanavati, I know you have been preaching that, as well as Padma has been preaching the zero drop shoe. These are all of our women warriors that are in our network. And so Jamie told me the best place to go to in Boise, and we talked about how, like, when she changed her shoes, tibia, ankle, knee alignment stuff changed for her, and I told her our conversation, et cetera. So it's just, when you become aware, it's amazing how all of that just kind of comes into your wellness sphere.
Yeah.
But in general, feel great. The weather's fantastic, and I am very excited that we're leaving for India and Nepal on Wednesday.
Yes.
So we'll be doing a lot of sitting on that plane, so we might have to go in the galley areas and do a little bit of functional movement.
Yeah. Yeah, we might have to be those people.
Yeah.
For sure.
Going to be those people, for sure. Yep.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into our topic.
Okay.
How to cultivate freedom. So I always like to start with, I love words, and words, especially when we look at words from the English language, other languages, what different words mean in Sanskrit, etc. But this morning I just was like, I want to look up what the definition, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is about freedom. And it says, freedom is the power or right to act, speak, and change as one wants without hindrance or restraint. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
You know what.
I'm curious. Just share with everybody what your thoughts are.
Yeah. So, yeah, over 4th of July, just to give you a little bit of the why behind this, I have a small, medium-sized dog who hates fireworks. And the bonsai.
We love the bonsai.
And, 4th of July for me, obviously as a child, was fun.
Sure.
Like the loud noises, all of that, the fireworks, the pretty colors. And
the sparklers.
Yeah. And I totally get people who have children and want to give that experience to their kids.
Absolutely.
However,
it's not good for pets.
During the 4th
Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
For anybody who has a dog or a cat or any pet, because they operate on a different frequency with their olfactory senses, etc., it's hard for them.
Yeah.
It really is. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine, because I think that's excellent, because that, there's actually a couple of avenues that you can go there with the concept of freedom, because the biggest issue I have with it is, if we are celebrating our freedom on the 4th of July, why then must we shoot fireworks off and have loud noises on the 1st of July and the 2nd of July and the 5th of July and the 6th of July? And we've spent all this money on fireworks, so by God, we are going to light them all off at various different times.
Right. For 2 weeks.
Yes.
Essentially.
So that is where I start to get, the irritation starts to come in to where, okay, where does my freedom then tend to get infringed on? So my freedom to right to act, speak, change as one wants without hindrance or restraint. So the fact that I can't take my dog out for my evening walk because
it's just too much for him.
Fireworks are going off and it freaks him out. Yeah. I can't get a sequential good night's sleep for a few nights because people are... Now I also have the freedom to buy earplugs or masks or whatever.
But you are restricting the freedom of your ears.
Yes.
As a result of that.
Exactly.
Okay, like this is the rabbit hole we can go down here,
Yes.
people. Like, this is it. Yep.
So it's just a really hard time of year for me because of that reason that I think, okay, in your right to do what you want to do, just realize that you are infringing on the freedom of other people.
You're hindering and restraining.
Yes. On people who that is not their jam. That is not, and to go down the animal avenue, where is their right to not be hyped up, or not hyped up, but not be
Agitated.
or
fearful.
or fearful, or drugged.
Right. Right. Like, because a lot of people do that.
Yes.
They do. They give their pets a sedative.
Sedatives, tranquilizer. I'm like, does the animal really want that?
No. And it's not good for them.
If it was their right.
Would they be, hey man,
please give me these sedatives so I don't. So it just, again, it is that rabbit hole. And again, I appreciate this country and the freedom that we have to do those things, but within reason. And it's one day.
Yep.
Like, can we keep the
Can we contain it
parameters
to
into one, maybe two?
Right.
But the whole week of I want to share this with everyone, and it's within my right. It's like, you just realize, have that awareness that you're infringing on other people's rights as well.
Well, and those fireworks stands, like here in Boise, they're set up a month in advance.
Yes.
The thing that I also do find very interesting, though, is, and this is just merely observation. I have no statistics whatsoever to back this up, but I noticed the past couple of years, and we can go down this rabbit hole as well, but I noticed the past couple of years, those fireworks stands don't seem to be as popular as they used to. I feel like the inventory goes to a 70% discount way faster.
Yeah.
Now I know that they got to burn that thing off by time the holiday comes, or it goes back into storage, and I don't know where the fireworks keepers are. But I just noticed that the sales are happening more frequently and faster as it gets closer to the date, because those stands get set up around, I'd say around my birthday, around June 11, et cetera, maybe give or take a few days. And I don't see a lot of people going to them anymore.
Yeah.
And so now the rabbit hole with that could also, there's that whole discussion of, how patriotic do people feel these days, et cetera, et cetera. That's not the point of this podcast, but I don't know. I think my hope is that maybe that there is more awareness, and I'm not opposed to, the fireworks displays, et cetera, but I like when that is organized by a city or a town, et cetera, and people
know when it's going to be.
Exactly.
You can prepare.
Exactly.
But when I think they're over and still at 11:30 at night, some neighbor still has some that they're, it's just, it becomes a bit too much.
Absolutely.
So, and it's...
Or 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You're like, do people not sleep?
And I'm actually seeing the effects of my dog still does not really want to go out at night.
Right.
I'm trying to get him to go out for a walk at night.
And you think he's still a little freaked out?
I think he's still hearing him.
Yeah.
And I think he's still freaked out. So he's just like, no, I want to stay inside. Yeah. Oh, anyway.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And for all of you pet owners out there, we feel it.
Yes.
Totally get it.
We do.
It's hard. Our first cat, Safari, he would literally run and hide in either the closet or underneath the sink in Michael's bathroom. And Michael, he does not like noise as it relates, and he's on the same line of thinking as you are, just with, this is actually infringing upon my rights. One of his biggest pet peeves are when people alter their cars and they've got that loud muffler thing happening, which for the record in the state of Idaho is technically illegal. But nobody does anything about it.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah.
But so how then do we cultivate freedom for ourselves? This is because collective freedom comes from individual freedom, and individual freedom comes from collective freedom. There's that, that interchange between the two. And I think that when we think about, well, I'm going to ask you, what do you feel it means to be free? When you think about personal freedom, what comes to mind when you think about that? And I actually want our listeners to kind of think about this too.
Yeah.
When you think of your personal freedom, what does that entail?
Yeah. For me, it's a lot about choice. I get to choose how I respond to situations. I get to choose what I put in my body. I get to choose the air I breathe, the water I drink, within reason, as much as I can. And just having that bodily autonomy, but then also, again, the freedom to thoughts, feelings, emotions.
Okay. I like that. From an Ayurvedic and a yogic and a Vedic perspective, freedom really comes from a couple of different spaces, but the main space is that it comes with our connection to source. In Ayurveda, we talk a lot about the roots of disease. And if we look at disease, we can see that disease is actually a restriction of freedom in our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And when we have disease, the primary reason why we have disease is because we've lost our connection to source. However you define that, people define source in many different ways. They connect with the universe, they connect with nature, they say God or goddess, and many iterations thereof.
Has nothing to do with belief, right? You can have whatever belief you want.
That's correct. You can have.
It's not going to change.
Nope.
A disconnect from source.
Right. And actually, like a lot of the great yogis out there, like Sadhguru will say, like, you've got to plug in. You got to plug into to source so that you feel connected to something that's larger than yourself, that you are also contributing to and you're also receiving. And that requires a process. And, as as an acharya and an advanced practitioner, that we can get connected to source, and what we have to do with that is know who we are, what our purpose in this life is, and how in this life to activate that purpose. And obviously that's what we do in the Ayurvedic Woman program. It's what we are introducing as part of the Ayurveda 108, et cetera, and also just like leading by example.
Yeah.
So, it's important for all of us to really do a deep dive into who it is that we are, not what society tells us, not what our friends or our family want us to be, et cetera. And I think we all learn that at different levels through different experiences. Just being with my family this past couple of weeks, learning who you are relative to that family unit is also just really interesting. And what do you think about that? Like, thoughts on identifying who it is that you are
In my family circle?
Yeah. Because that's a big impact.
Yeah.
People have the family has a huge influence on our, for lack of a better word, identity.
Yeah, it does. It's our first kind of identifier as to who we supposedly are. And where we get kind of our first labels. Like, for me, label would be the baby of the family.
Yep.
I'm the only girl.
Yep.
The little sister.
Label.
Yeah, I got everything handed to me. I'm like, well, it's because I'm the third one. Like, got hand-me-downs from everybody. So those are definitely some of the labels that I still think they see me as. But that's starting to change a little bit, I think. Like, the conversation I had with my brother this last week was very cool, that he said, wow, I felt like I needed to call you for you, but actually I called you for me because you just gave me some good advice. So I was like, oh, okay.
All right. It's working.
And, normally I don't think I would have seen it that way. Like, no, you guys are older. Everybody's older than me in the family. You all know better.
They don't.
Not always. No, sometimes, but not always.
Not always.
And not for me. Like, only I know what's best for me.
Yep.
But it's trying to figure that out. That's the chore. So...
And it's a hard one, knowing who we are beyond our labels. And so I will encourage all of our listeners to really start taking a deep dive into that, because from an Ayurvedic and a yoga perspective, because that's what we do here on this podcast, knowing who you are is beyond those labels. And really, once we know that, freedom opens up for us. the restriction, like going back to that definition, freedom is the power or right to act, speak, and change as one wants without hindrance or restraint. When we don't know who we are in a ever non-ending cycle of hindrance and restraint.
Yeah.
So we've got to be connected to source, and we have to get to the root of who it is that we are. The other part is that contributes to knowing who it is that we are is knowing what our purpose is. And many of our students have heard me say this 100 times. You are not meant to be on this planet just to work, pay taxes, and die. You're not. You are here for a much larger reason, and examining that process, in yoga and in Ayurveda, we call it dharma. What is that purpose?
Yeah.
And doing a deep dive into that. And I think that comes a little bit later on in life, because I think we're so influenced by family, friends, society when we're younger. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, people call it this, you're having a midlife crisis. No, it's a midlife awakening, where all of a sudden you're like, oh.
How did I get here?
Right. How did that happen?
Where am I?
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Holy shit is right. And we look at our lives and it's like, what's going to be the legacy? What's going to be the imprint that I leave? And have I been joyful in that process? A great indicator of knowing if you are in your purpose, if you're in your dharma, is if you're happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pick on you because and dharma and purpose is not your job.
Yeah.
It's everybody thinks that the career that I have is who it is that I am, and it's my purpose, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to pick on you because we're getting ready to go to India and Nepal. You were in your high school classroom, prepping the room, and tell me what that experience was like. Share.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis purpose and freedom.
Yeah. So, because we get back from India like 2 days before school starts. So I had to prep my room, so I didn't have a lot to do when I got back. And I was just, as I was getting all the desks back and just getting everything ready, I just started to not feel very good. And I was like, man, now I have a headache and my ears are kind of ringing, and is it something in the air in here? Like, now my knee hurts and like it's cold in here. Yeah, I was like, okay.
I have a migraine and my knee hurts.
This is going to be my next, 8 months.
What year? What year are you going into now?
This will be my 22nd.
22 years
Yeah.
of teaching high school social studies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my, doing what I'm doing with the AWP, like I have a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Like it is, I don't see it the same way I did, say, 5 years ago. I still do it, but I don't see it the same way, and I still want to do a good job at it.
Of course. Well, you always want to be excellent.
But I don't have the same perspective of this is my life and this is what I have to do.
What's the switch? What is the old view?
That this is what I'm going to be doing until I retire, and I better stay in it so I can get that retirement, blah, 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 blah.
Hindered and restrained.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what I'm stuck in for life. And
sounds like a prison sentence.
It really does.
Sorry. We're getting you out on parole, girl. We're getting you out.
And I really want to know who those people are that just look at I think it is people who detach from their job and just see it as a job.
Yeah.
It's just something I do.
Right.
And it's not who I am. Mm-hmm. And I think they do actually have some more joy.
And more freedom.
Yeah.
Less disease.
Freedom. And so I'm trying to do that route a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay. I love it. Mm-hmm. So we've got connection to source gives you freedom. Knowing who it is that you are, which, for the record, we're always becoming.
Yeah.
We're always in that stage of change and evolution, et cetera. I mean, it's just part of the process.
It's not like you make one choice and you're like, well, that's it. That's all the choices I have to make for the rest of my life.
No.
It's choices keep coming.
Yep.
You have to keep going.
Keep evolving. So connection to source, knowing who we are, which is an ever-changing, ever-evolving. And I think the restraint and hindrance comes from when outside influence not only has put labels on you, but also wants to keep you in a certain way that they have known you. It's like your parents. Not your parents, but like one's parents. It is, they have this snapshot of you when you were 6 or 8 or 13 or, whatever, and think that's who you are for the rest of your life. And then all of a sudden you're in, your 40s or like me staring down 50, and you're like, no, that's not who I am at all. And so they're still working with that snapshot, and you're ever-changing, becoming, and evolving. So that's something to consider.
Yeah.
So connection to source, knowing who you are, knowing what your purpose is, which is not your job, which is not job/career, which is not a one and done, but expansive on a much larger kind of macro level. What is it that why am I here? Why am I authentically here?
I'd say your purpose is not really dependent on others either. I think that's a big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which actually goes back to freedom, because that's independence, which is that notion of freedom.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's not, I like that, not dependent on others. And then one of the last pieces of that is knowing how to activate that purpose in life, which I actually think is the hardest for most people. I think the restraint and hindrance, where people feel like they can't act, speak, or change as they want, comes because they don't feel like that. They feel like they have to keep that purpose either small, they have to keep it internal. Other people are not going to understand. People are going to judge me for that.
Or it's going to be too hard.
Or it's going to be too hard.
Yeah. So they almost just give me the hindrance and restraint, because I don't want to activate this because it's just too hard. Yeah. Just stay where I'm at.
It's easier.
Yeah.
And actually,
which is not choosing freedom.
1,000%.
Yeah.
What's actually really interesting about that point, God, brilliant point. Thank you, Praj, is I actually think that when people get scared to activate their purpose in life, they actually seek out the hindrance as an excuse because they're too afraid to step into it.
Yeah.
And come up with 10,000 reasons why they can't do something because either it won't be understood, I'm afraid to do it, I don't want to activate it. And so almost hinder and restrain themselves. It's the concept of self-sabotage,
Not to bring up, but for anyone who is Lord of the Rings fans out there, but
all about it. Go for
Frodo
it.
Frodo is like, I know what I have to do. I'm just afraid to do it.
Mm-hmm. You gotta give it to him though for the honesty.
Yeah.
I'll give Frodo some credit on that one.
Yeah. And then I remember Galandria, I think, said, to be a ring bearer is to be alone. Which that one always gets me. But
it's to be an acharya.
Yeah.
It's to be alone.
So
being a spiritual teacher, we have our posse, and that's why we're trying to keep growing that posse so people don't feel alone. But there is an alone part to that.
Yeah.
And that's actually, in a lot of ways, true leadership and true freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he wasn't really alone. Right. He had Sam. So.
His peep.
He has peep. And Gollum, I guess, for a while. Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah.
And then, again, how do we cultivate, freedom for ourselves? I think that we also need to look at freedom on all the levels of the self. So in Ayurveda and in yoga, we call them the koshas. And so there are 5 levels to that. And in a previous podcast, I've spoken about the detail of the koshas. But we've got this physical level of freedom, this energetic level of freedom, mental, emotional, our level of consciousness and cultivating our consciousness towards freedom, and then our spiritual freedom. So let's let's break those apart a little bit. So what do you see as physical freedom? That anamaya kosha, that food body.
Yeah, that's the food you take in, which 4th of July nightmare of what people eat as well. But it's just that freedom to eat good food. And again, it's the freedom to do it. Like, you are free to eat
Bad food as well?
Bad food as well. Whatever you want. It's just, the freedom to, work out how you want or not. The freedom to, physically do what you want in your life.
Or not.
Or not. Yep. So, kind of the easy one, I think.
Yeah.
The physical freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is that on these levels of the koshas, as we're looking at freedom, if we hinder or restrain ourselves on the physical level, everything above it gets hindered.
Yeah.
And that's where these stages of disease start to happen. If we are restricting our water intake, our nutritious food intake, our movement of our physical body, then that shuts down the next level, which is our energetic body. How is energy moving inside of our body? And actually, the energetic body and energetic freedom, I actually think is a big one.
Yeah.
Because it can and does involve other people. What is the company that you're keeping?
Yeah.
Are the people that you are associating with hindering and restraining your freedom, or are they encouraging you and supporting your freedom? Because that energetic vibe really has a huge influence. Like, thoughts on that?
I would say, as a teacher, I was just thinking about this probably even yesterday, that, as kids walk into my room, you can
feel it.
You can feel it. And that's actually, I've mentioned before that that's one of the hardest parts of my job, is feeling you're stuck in a room with
that
30 plus human beings that some of their energy is just
distorted.
Distorted, not good. For whatever reason, they walk into your room and you're just like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Whew. And it's all with you. And you don't really get a choice as to what that energy entails. And so
that's why she goes out on breaks outside, even if it's like 17 degrees outside.
Yeah.
To take walks.
And I've had,
you need that. You need that prana.
Yeah.
You need that life force.
And it's also creating, so if you think about the students are that way, and then if you have a teacher that has energy that is not great, it goes both ways.
Yep.
Like, I try to be that calming energy for those kids, and no matter what they do, trying to be that calming energy, and it makes it difficult. But I've had kids in the past who are like, your room was just so zen, it was just so calming, and I'm just like, yeah,
good for you.
That's why.
Do you have plants in your room?
Yeah.
I have to come and see your classroom.
I do.
I've never seen that.
You're not doing that great, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe because of the energy of the school. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the water that they get.
Absolutely.
Maybe not the best water, but they're struggling right now. But
aww. Sad.
They're still there. I'll get some more. Bring them in.
But I think, there's something to that. There's not only the energy of, a location. We also have the physical energy inside of us. So that's why, in Ayurveda and in yoga, we're constantly encouraging people to breathe. The emphasis on, very deep, long belly breaths through, whether it is just dirga or ujjayi breath or whatever, nadi shodhana.
Box breathing.
Which is, I guess that's like a thing.
Yeah.
Box breathing really is avaloma viloma.
Yeah.
It's Michael and I actually had that conversation yesterday. He's like, I can't stand when people call it box breathing. It's avaloma viloma. I'm like, yes, I know.
Michael.
It's the truth.
I'll make sure I say that.
I know, the meditation and pranayama.
Michael, let's do some box breathing.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you tell him that when we're in India. He's going to love that. He's going to give you the look. He's like, you're voted off the island. Thank you very much. We're shipping you off. But but cultivating, positive energy within ourselves through our relationships, through the environment that we choose to be in. One of the things that I always find fascinating on the energetic level is in my neighborhood, the number of people who draw their blinds down on their windows and like all day, all the time, don't want to know that like we don't have curtains, we don't have blinds in our house at all. Like we just have the windows open so that like natural light can come in. But and I understand like sometimes if the sun's too much, you want to be able to dim it, etc. But people like shut those blinds and like, is anybody home? Like it's bad feng shui. I don't know.
It is.
So then we have that energetic level leads to the freedom on the mental emotional level, and like we can literally become prisoners in our own minds. And I personally will say that we become prisoners in our own minds due to the beliefs that we cling to rather than being open. Thoughts? And if you have a different thought about that, that's fine.
I was just listening to the podcast I mentioned yesterday in AWP, and one of the main things that the man on the podcast was talking about was curiosity.
Ooh.
Like just be curious, and you'll find that if you just go down a path and just be curious about what might happen, safety in mind, but just being curious about things that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The question we always
just
ask.
Having that curiosity, it just opens up and sets aside those beliefs of like, oh, I better not do that because of blah, 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 blah. Just be curious about it and just see where it leads. It's probably something you're supposed to do and you just don't know it. That was fascinating. I'm going to try to implement that more into my life because I have moments. Many
we all do.
Still. Yeah.
When we get tied up into this and think that the brain needs or things need to be a certain way in order for them to be okay. I think the largest restriction in the mental emotional body on that Koshic level is the idea of, quote, safety and security.
The ego.
Yep. Ego is like, got to keep you safe, got to keep you secure. That's its primary function, and we love the ego for that, the ahamkara, but it is also the false self. Yeah. It doesn't actually give us the freedom it is that we need to, quote-unquote, take risks in order to have that mental emotional freedom so that we stay trapped in. And again, that also has to do with who are you hanging around with? Do they authentically want the best for you, and or not? And if they don't, kind of got to vote them off the island.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then we have our consciousness body. How do we raise our consciousness, and how can we be free? And I think that consciousness starts with awareness. Like we talked about last night in AWP online, that the first step in becoming more conscious beings is creating awareness. And once we are aware of our actions, of our environment, of the people that we are around, the choices that we're making, then we can move out of states of disease and actually truly be free and be conscious and witness ourselves from a non-judgmental place. And that's one of the big things that in our lineage, Swami Kripalu talks about non-judgmental witness consciousness. How can I be aware of my actions, my behaviors, et cetera, and not immediately go to judgment, like, oh, this makes me a bad person? Because then you get trapped in that disease of the mental emotional body.
Yeah.
So
the ego.
The ego. Thoughts or anything on that?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good one. And then finally, spiritual freedom, which actually goes right back to what we originally talked about with our connection to Source. Having spiritual freedom, I think, is actually the most important thing. And I know Sadhguru says this a lot, that working, and Swami Kripalu would say this all the time as well, that when you work on your spiritual life and development, your material life and everything else falls into place, not the reverse.
Yeah.
So you're laughing. Tell me why.
No, just that same podcast. I mentioned it yesterday. The whole thing about we're all about minimalism and get rid of physical things in our life. And I'm like, what about the spiritual side when you minimalize and just keep that simple and that spiritual life, and then the material life just fits.
It just blossoms.
Yeah.
And again, I think that we can limit ourselves spiritually with beliefs. And again, that's the difference between spirituality and religion. Religion is like dogmatic and doctrinal, that, this is how it has to be. Whereas spirituality is like, no, this, here is some information. How you activate that is completely up to you. And making sure that you have a connection to source in whatever form that is. Because in reality, it's like, I believe all of it. I believe all of it exists. I don't care what you believe or how you believe it, because I can take all the blessings. I can take, I'll take it from Jesus, from the Buddha, from Shiva, from, Muhammad. I'll take all of it, and then
it's
some.
Getting to the root of what they were all talking about.
Yes.
And what they were all presenting, just in different ways.
Which really is freedom.
Yeah.
It really is about not restraining yourself and putting yourself into a box.
Yeah. And we start adding in, but you have to do this.
Right.
And you have to do this. And you have to do this in order to
Be part of the club.
Yeah. Then it starts to be restraining and hindering of, if I don't do this, then I'm not a part of the club.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is actually completely counterproductive and counterintuitive to what the whole purpose is.
Yeah.
We want to have the freedom of flow in our physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual bodies, so that we can actually be free from disease, not cause more disease.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Love it.
Okay.
So good.
So ironically, today, I'm going to have you pull a card.
I did already.
Oh, you already did? And it is from the Ganesha Speaks deck. And the reason why we chose Ganesha today is because Ganesha is the remover of obstacles, allowing us to have freedom as a result. So you chose, I'm going to pick this up for our YouTube watchers, number 20, it's protection. And there is Ganesha right there floating around. What does protection have to say today?
Protect your energy.
Oh my God.
As you lift your vibration and frequency. As you continue on your spiritual path, you begin to lift in vibration and frequency, and you continue to experience new levels of love and light. Your energy body undergoes an essential transformation.
You picked this one on purpose, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You can't make this up.
I picked it.
You cannot make this shit up.
These changes in energy body require that past pain and limiting views of self be released. When this happens and the pain comes to the forefront of your experience, it can definitely feel like you're taking quite a battering. Ask Ganesha to surround you with his beautiful energy at this time. You may envision this energy as red, yellow, or white in color, or in any color that resonates with you. Imagine this energy is filled with love and light. It is said that Ganesha oversees the angels of protection. Ganesha's light energy serves to release any negative energy within its field into light. Visualize negative energy, entities, memories, or stuck energy being released from your spirit, mind, and body. When previous pain shows up, it may not be a clear-cut memory of a particular past event or feeling of fear. Past experiences may be reflected in your current challenges and lessons. It appears in a form that will trigger you now, bringing up resistance and distraction to be dealt with immediately.
Hindrance or restraint.
And keep in mind to respond with love, because we are love. You are assured that you will continue to grow and evolve through this challenge. Ganesha will assist you in protecting your energy for the best possible results.
Wow. Our entire podcast summed up. And for the record, folks, we don't, this was randomly picked. in the entire deck. It's not like, oh, we're going to line it up, etc. Randomly picked, but as always, the universe delivers.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shamelessly right now, before we conclude today, plug our Ayurveda 108 program that is getting ready to start on August 28th. So if you are actually interested in becoming free on all of these levels, physical, energetic, mental, emotional, consciousness, and spiritual, 2 things that you can do. Read the book, From Pain to Power, bestseller on Amazon right now, and join the program, the Ayurveda 108. Starts August 28th. It's online. And so you can join from any place it is that you want to. Go to the website, thewomanwarrioracademy.com, and check it out.
Yep.
And join us, because we have so many fun things in store. It is 108 days, so it'll start August 28th and ends December 14th or something like that, right before the holidays. Fantastic thing to do in the fall, not only as a reset, but also as a focus as the holidays come in and people start to say, no, you should do this and you should do that. And rather than trying to help you cultivate freedom, might be trying to restrain or restrict you. So would love to have you join. Check it out. And both Prajna and I will be there.
Yep.
Any other final thoughts?
No, just with the 108, it's giving you a lot of tools to try and deal with life and with these koshas, and just there is a guide, but it's up to you to do them. So, but it is giving you those tools. So,
and you get to hang out with a bunch of really cool women.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great. And with the 108, we also have a bonus of our fitness program, 6-week fitness program. We have a great team of gals. It'll be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. here in Boise. So if you're local, you're welcome to join. We are going to be videoing these classes, so they will be in the online circle that we have established. So if you are interested in that, you can couple the 2 together. You can do the 108 and then have this as a bonus, and all that information is on the website, thewomanwarrioracademy.com.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Jai Bhagwan. Jai Bhagwan.
Jai Bhagwan.
And as always, may your soul be victorious.
Is life hard? Yeah, it's really fucking hard. And you can also have the life it is that you want. You just got to work for it.